everyone. Thank you for joining us today. This isn't going to be an ordinary discussion about how Canadian women can help build financial literacy. I'm Yvonne Giometsky-Fisher, and I'm your moderator today. My day job is at Home Equity Bank as an executive. We're a Schedule I bank dedicated to helping Canadians 55 and better, and we are the provider of CHIP reverse mortgage. Before we go further, please remember that while our panel is made up of experts, including financial planners, they are not your financial planners. Before taking action on any of the information you learn today, please do your own research, see how it applies to your unique situation, and talk to your financial advisor about whether these ideas are right for you. Let's get started. Did you know that 2/3 of Canadian women are still reluctant to talk about money? They feel like it's private or it's too personal, and they weren't raised to talk about it. With me today are some of the smartest women I know, and we're going to have a great discussion about women and finance. So let's get comfortable talking about money together. First up, help me welcome Patty Levitt-Reid. You may know her from her work as a journalist on CTV, or her more recent work with the bank as our chief financial commentator. Welcome, Patty.
I'm delighted to be here. I applaud myself. Yay!
Yes. Next up, Sarah Winmayer from Richardson Wealth, CIBC, BMO, and Sun Life. Over 25 years of industry experience with focus on private wealth management. Welcome, Sarah. Thank you. And finally, welcome Linda Nazareth. Linda is an author, a futurist, an economist, and she specializes in demographics and the future of work and global economics. Welcome, Linda.
Thank you.
What an impressive panel, and let's get started. So the first question is for Linda. Linda, can you tell us what trends are you seeing related to retirement and finances later in life?
Yeah, good question, Yvonne. You know, the nice part is we're all living these longer lives. Fantastic, but it means decades more that you have to be ready for, provide for. And then we're women, and even if you have a big career, you may not have a pension like was traditional. You may have taken time off with your kids, or maybe taken years off, didn't build wealth the same way. And on top of that, everyone's dealing with the gyrations in the markets and inflation, and maybe more uncertainty than we've seen in a long time. So it makes it kind of difficult to plan.
Agreed. Let's bring everyone else into the conversation. So my next question is, can you share, Patty, I'll start with you. Can you share a piece of advice that was given to you, a piece of financial advice that was given to you at any point in your life that you still carry with you and you go back to?
Oh, 100%. I remember being told at a very young age that no one is going to care about you and your financial situation more than you. And you cannot abdicate responsibility for your financial future to anyone else. And that doesn't mean that if you're in a great relationship that you can't commingle assets if you want to. But you need to be involved. You need to know where you stand financially. And honestly, it has stayed with me my entire life. And my mother, who's 92, I have said to her on many occasions, let me help you with your finances. And she said, if I need help, I'll ask you. And she means it, actually. And, you know, she's on top of it. And she will ask for help. I'm power of attorney. We can work together. But she will not abdicate responsibility to me. So guess who I got that advice from? Mom.
Amazing. Sarah, what about you?
Wow. Well, it's a similar answer, actually. My mom was a stay-at-home mom, and she managed the family budget. She paid the bills. She was Minister of Finance in the house.
Oh, I love that.
But she gave up her career to have babies. And so when I was growing up, she said to me, never give up your career, and never give up your identity, and never give up your financial independence. And it wasn't that they didn't have a happy marriage. They lived together happily for 60 years. But again, my mom was that person who whispered in my ear and said, you make sure you understand money and can live and deal with it on your own. The other piece of advice is a little bit more tactical, if I can share one more.
Of course.
Is when you're shopping, ladies, if you can't afford it, let me put this a different way. If you can't pay for it in cash, you probably can't afford it. And while the credit cards are useful tools, manage them very carefully. And of course, sometimes we must use our credit cards for larger purchases, but just in general, when shopping, because I do love to shop, if you have to put on a credit card to pay for it and it's small enough, then maybe you can't afford it.
I think it's a great advice for women of all ages, but you know, I know we're going to talk about finances later in life and older women, but it's so important that younger people, both men and women, get this kind of advice, because it can be so helpful in life and really life-changing, right?
Absolutely.
Linda, what about you?
I'm not even sure who it came from, but I remember reading early in my career, speak up and ask. Because if you're not the person that asked for the raise, somebody else comes in after you and gets it. And also, we're taught not to share information as women, but just in general. And even now in workplaces and everywhere, you have people trying to make separate deals and play off people against each other. It's like we're not supposed to talk about how much we're spending or making or saving or anything. It's like a taboo subject. I don't think that serves us.
I agree. And you know, when you share, and you have to share in a trusted circle, then you can kind of right size, right? Because you can understand if you're spending too much money or not enough money on certain things. I really like that.
So if I can just add on to what Linda just said, I once had a woman say to me that her husband had managed their finances their entire life, and he passed away. And in that moment, she didn't know if she could afford his funeral in the way that she felt he deserved to be recognized and remembered. And I remember thinking and looking at her finances with her, and of course she could. And I said to her, you're dealing with the death of a spouse, and you've got all that grief, and now you've got all this financial uncertainty. And she said, yes, lesson learned. And it wasn't that he didn't want her to know. He felt he was protecting her. I've got this. I'll look after it. And so, no, we need to ask the questions. We have to have the conversations. Money is not taboo.
Patty, were you reading ahead with the questions?
No, was I? Oh dear, okay.
No, because
okay, I have a different answer. Ask me something.
No, this is a perfect, my next question is, you know, many women feel uncertain after a big life change, after something happens, whether it's a death of a spouse, or a health scare, or, you know, any number of things that can happen later in life. What can women do, you know, in their 60s, in their 70s, in the 80s, when they're experiencing these big life changes? Where to go to? Sarah, I'll start with you.
Oh, okay. I would say the first thing is, and we call it in planning, we call it suddenly single. And that could be a divorce, it could be a death. The first thing is really not to make any big decisions. Because especially if you've been in a relationship for a period of time, you're used to making decisions jointly. Yeah. And so suddenly you know, having to make a decision by yourself can be terribly paralyzing. A lot of people sometimes rush and make decisions. Don't make any decisions. That would be the first thing I would say. The second thing is, you know, you really should be working with a financial advisor, a financial planner, a certified financial planner, a CFP, that you feel comfortable with. Because, and I can't stress that enough, really, finding someone that is a good match for you, where you can be honest and you can be transparent. The first step really is to take stock of where you are. And that is a financial plan or a quick financial analysis, but what are your assets, what are your liabilities, so that you get a really good framework of where you stand.
Things like power of attorney, will, what your wishes are, those types of things, right?
But the importance of finding someone that you can actually have that conversation with is so important.
Yes, and people will often say, how do you find that person? And you find that person by talking to friends, by talking to family. But I think there are three questions that I always believe you should ask. And I would ask, one, how are you compensated? And they should be compensated. But how are they compensated? Because you're making a referral of a product that's in your best interest, or is it in my best interest? I also think, how often will you hear from them? It's not their agenda, you're the client. And if you're just starting out and you're uncertain, and you want to hear from someone on a monthly basis, then they have to do that. And if they're not willing to, they're not your person. And the third thing I always look at is the strength of the organization behind the person that you're working with. Because if something doesn't work out and maybe goes right when you want to go left, you know, sideways, that's the right way to say it. But it can happen. You need the strength of an organization that has the finances to back you. Look at the people in the past who have maybe gone with someone who is an independent and maybe went rogue, and they're out a lot of money and could be financially ruined. So I think they're important questions to ask.
Yeah. So suddenly single, do your homework. And have your assessment.
And interview a number of them, a number of people.
Yes.
It's don't just take the first person or someone said that this person is really, really good. Maybe that person is really good, but not necessarily you're really good. Yeah. I find, you know, borrowing on something that you said around the taboo, money is taboo, and depending on your age, you may not be comfortable talking about money. So you need to find someone that you are comfortable talking about money, and, you know, maybe bringing out the credit card bills, maybe bringing out the line of credit, like someone that you feel you can be totally transparent and honest with.
Yeah. Linda, anything else? Like, where do you start later in life when there is a sudden change and you have to figure things out?
I mean, I would agree, take stock of it, but you said suddenly single. Like, I look at the employment market we have, and suddenly unemployed or suddenly not getting a regular paycheck is a reality for a lot of people. I hear a lot of women, too, say, yeah, I'm going to work till I'm 65 or 70 or whatever. You may not get the choice. And if you are employed, it may be on contracts, it may not be, you know, what you've been used to. So you have to be ready for that and adjust to that as well.
Yeah. Very good. All right. Now we're going to get personal. Oh. But I'll start. So who here has had a big personal reset in their life at any stage, and what did we learn? What did we take away? So I'll start. So I got divorced in my 40s. It was a typical thing, had to split everything in half. I had both my daughters, I had single custody of both my daughters, and it's a lot to go through, as many people know, and I was having a really hard time letting go of things. I wanted things to stay the same, but yet be very different. And one of my colleagues, friends at work, her name is Sue, she said, you know, you may think you don't have options. You have options, you just don't like the options that you have. And her office was 2 doors from mine, and I remember stomping out of her office thinking that was the meanest thing anybody could say to someone going through a divorce. And by the time I made it to my office, I decided, literally 12 steps, I decided I was selling the house. And I was making this move, and this move. And I've used that advice since then many times in many different situations. And it was very liberating, and also it was very practical. And I think it allowed me to move on. You know, in the moment, it wasn't what I wanted it to be, but I had to look forward, and it was very, very freeing. And I'm very grateful to her for that advice. And it was a game changer in that whole experience. Sarah, what about you? Have you had a financial reset or a...
Oh, well, I've had a few. I would say probably the one that might resonate is we had bought our first house, and it was more or less paid for, and we decided that we wanted the dream house. My kids were young, I was gainfully employed at BMO, senior executive. Things seemed just fine. Went into the contract with the builder, Kevin and I both looking for the yes, not one playing off the other, looking for the reasons why not. We were both already in. And I often look back at that thinking, you know, of all the contracts that I've negotiated in my career, I let myself down on my own personal one.
Oh, wow.
We hired Bernie Madoff, the builder.
The builder.
Bernie the builder.
Bernie Madoff, the builder.
I think I heard him too.
The swindler.
Yes, who, unbeknownst to us, took our first significant deposit and used it to finish someone else's house. hoping that he had another big one behind us where he could do the same thing. He did not. He was not able to finish the house. We had to pay twice to finish the house. We had to fire the team. I became the general contractor. I learned how to drywall.
That's unfortunate. No, I'm just kidding.
No problem. Hole in the wall, no problem. You know, I lost my job. And so it was a real reckoning for us. We had to sit at the table, get real with each other in terms of balance sheets, because again, according to my mom, I was managing my finances, he was managing his, and this is the downside of that advice, is suddenly, okay, where are we together? And we needed to have those conversations, and out came my very private, secret credit line. And you know, what we did is first things first. You know, we came up with a financial plan. We got real comfortable with the word budget, which I really don't like, but it was an important word. And we put our heads down, and one of our sayings was, "It's just money, we'll make more." And we got to work, paid off the really ugly debt. And started to put one foot in the front of the other and moved our way out of it. And happy to say we're just fine now, and the house is beautiful.
It's interesting to hear from someone like you, right? Because you're so successful and your day job is helping people and giving financial advice and helping create wealth. But I also think it's very real because, you know, there are zigzags in life, and they don't discriminate on, you know, job, position, education, and it may happen to everyone. And I think the other one, I remember this quote, the most important financial decision in life is who you marry. And
Yes.
it's amazing to hear that you were able to work through it with your husband, right?
Yes.
Because some marriages can't survive something like that.
It's true.
And then you were able to move on, and
We knew the enemy was outside the house, not inside the house, and I think that was really important.
That's
and
great.
We pulled together, but it doesn't define you. I think that's something I would love to say. It doesn't define you. What defines you is how you move out of it and how you build the resilience and the capability and the learnings.
yeah. Thank you for sharing that. I said we're going to get personal. This went. This was very real.
Yeah.
Linda.
Well, I just flashed back to a renovation we had and a builder who disappeared, but we won't do that. You know what? I had to reinvent myself about 10 years ago. I had a contract, I worked in television, but I'm an economist, right? So an economist who works in TV is already pretty niche. And then I didn't really want to go back to the kind of corporate job I'd had before. I wanted to be a freelancer. And I thought, okay, I can do that. But it was very humbling because you had to figure out what you could sell, who you could sell to. I had these ideas and they failed. I wrote a book and I thought I'd find an audience, and it's harder than you think to get your own PR. And then on top of that, it's very different being on your own to having a job because you don't have your taxes taken off automatically. You have to invoice yourself when you do things. You don't have an admin staff until it's worth hiring somebody. Everything is just on you, on one person, and you have to kind of motivate yourself to just keep going because you're not even just showing up at an office every day. So it frankly took me quite a while to figure out what people wanted to hear from me, what I could sell to them, you know, how to run a business. Really years till I got to the point where it was, okay, this is really working. And even now, you know, because I'm independent, there are times when things are better than other times. I mean, you know, I'm in the conference industry speaking to conferences. COVID wasn't really positive for that. I mean, is this ever going to come back?
Yeah.
So there have been a lot of things I've had to learn to handle myself, and financially, everything you learn has a real cost to it. So, you know, it's been character building and positive in the long term, but sometimes going through it, it really felt, do I even know what I'm doing?
That's very relevant to also people who transition into retirement. So that was your choice, right? You wanted to be on your own, but there are a lot of women our age who are choosing to retire and spend more time with families, but then comes that reinvention and figuring out how do you fill fill your days and what feels like productive time, and it could be time with grandkids, it could be time working, but working differently. That is definitely, it takes a lot of character and perseverance to come out on the other side. And now AI and
Yes,
in your, you know, everybody's an economist, right? You can just enter a prompt, and then you can sound smart without having all the background and all the education. Thank you for sharing. Patty.
Well, mine's very similar to yourself. I was in my mid-30s, found myself a single mom, and somehow I negotiated the wood panel station wagon with 2 baby seats in the back, and thinking,
That doesn't track.
this is not the recipe for success if this is your life. But I had a pivotal moment. My daughter had on a pair of red patent leather shoes. She was 3.5, 4, and they were ridiculously expensive. And I remember thinking, I'm never going to be able to afford those shoes again. And it was almost like a light bulb went off in my own head, and I went, oh yeah, I am totally going to be able to afford those shoes again. But the interesting part was, years later, and it was Bring Your Daughter to Work, and I was speaking at a Chamber of Commerce, and my daughter, I was telling the story, and my daughter was in the front row sleeping like this while I'm talking. So that was really a lovely moment. But in any event, and there were about 500 people in the audience, and I thought, okay, thanks, Jane. And anyway, I said, so I've never bought her those red shoes. And she pipes up and she goes, red sole shoes? And I said, no, but yes, same thing. And she goes, you can buy them for me now. Like, you can make it up to me. And in that moment, you know what I said to her? No, you can buy those shoes for yourself.
With cash.
Yeah, with cash. But I will tell you that you have these visuals and they're flashbacks. And how I got into the business was at that moment, because I didn't understand personal finance. I didn't know how to negotiate a mortgage. I had never balanced the checkbook, so to speak. I didn't even know what a net worth statement was. And the more people I asked, my contemporaries, they didn't know either. I was so bad that I negotiated my first mortgage, and I put $5,000 down, but I forgot all about it. So when I actually moved in, I had $5,000 more. Although at one point I felt like I couldn't account for what I'd spent that $5,000 on. I wasn't sure. And the more people I asked, the more I realized that there was a space for someone to understand personal finance so that the average person gets it. And that literally was a pivotal point for me.
Yeah. Patty, can I ask you one other question? So you retired.
I did.
You kind of formally retired, but not really, because we know how busy you are. That's a bit of a reset as well, because Linda did it differently. You kind of did it differently. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. You know, have you ever looked up retirement in the dictionary? I have. I'm an exciting person. It means to become reclusive and disappear. Sign me up. Oh. No, that is not what I had in mind. You're right. My whole life, I have always left something, but more importantly, gone to something. And so this was the first time in my life where I was leaving a job on my own terms that I loved, and I wasn't sure where I was going to. And I decided, you know, very quickly thereafter, and I know people think Instagram is all about funny, like nice pictures and, you know, that sort of thing. It's not. I had 5 job offers within a week. 5 good job offers that I hadn't even entertained, that I didn't even know was out there. So my big takeaway is that the next big thing for you, regardless of your age, could be right around the corner, but you have to be open to it. And the fact that you were one of the people that actually reached out, I didn't see it coming. It never even occurred to me. In fact, didn't I slam the product?
Yes, that's how we met.
Yeah, I just thought I would say that. But it's okay. Once you learn more, you do better. I think there's a better saying on that. But, you know, I do. But my point is that there is a lot of life left. And it's nice. It's humbling. You're right. But you can do things on your term. You have to be open to it. So the first year I retired, I'll end on this. It was my year of yes. No, I didn't write the book on it. No, I didn't coin the term. But it was yes to new opportunities, yes to new experiences, yes to new challenges. And I took them all on. And I still sort of do.
I love it. So that I'll very quickly tell how we met. So Patty wrote a not so favorable piece about reverse mortgages.
I did.
And I reached out, and when you reach out to journalists and people in that industry, 9 times out of 10 you don't hear back. But Patty, it was a year of yes, or leading to the year of yes. So Patty said, I'll meet with you, but you have 30 minutes and you can't buy me coffee.
I didn't want to be bribed. You know, if you're going to bribe me, it's going to be good. No.
And Patty was so generous with her time, met with me. I was a nerd who showed up with all kinds of documents and charts. And you were so gracious. You listened to me, and then we closed the folder, and you said, leave it with me. And maybe 2-3 weeks later, I was brushing my teeth, and my now husband was screaming from the room, saying, oh my God, you have to see this. And it was Patty on TV, I think it was CTV or Bloomberg.
Yeah, it was BNN Bloomberg at the time. Yeah.
And the topic of your segment was, it's time to reverse your thinking about reverse mortgages.
Mm-hmm. Wasn't that a catchy title?
That's very.
I'm very proud of that title, still to this day.
And you may not know this, you made me look so good with the senior management, with the board, with everybody, because it was so thoughtful and so well structured. And
great.
And
I never knew that part, everybody.
Easy for people to understand. They thought it was like paid partnership, which it wasn't. So say yes, and be kind to people, I think are really important life lessons as well, in addition to everything.
Well, I'm Patty to be kind.
No, she was very kind to me. She was so kind to take the meeting.
But it just goes to show you don't know. So if someone's watching us right now and they're thinking, I don't know what I'm going to do, I don't know where I'm going to go, you need to get out. You're not going to go anywhere if you stay at home.
Yeah.
You're not going to go anywhere if you don't talk to people, if you don't explore. But you don't know what's there. It's fascinating. And not everything works out. By the way, I've had business relationships that I thought might go on for a couple of years, and it was 6 months. And we both went, it's okay. This isn't working. And you need to know when to move on, and you need to know when to double down.
Perfect. Another perfect segue to the next question. I'm going to throw it to Linda. So research shows that about 49% of women feel they have high financial literacy versus about 65% of men feel the same way. Does that matter?
Okay, I said before when we talked, I'm suspicious. I think women tend to say I'm not that good at it, whereas men tend to say, oh yeah, of course I'm an expert, right? But apparently there's something behind these numbers right now. I think that's a lesson for all of us, that we can't let that go on. I mean, we can't let our daughters have that experience, even if there's a generation that does have it. But it's not too late for anyone. I mean, there's more information than ever out there, and women are certainly capable of grasping any of it.
Of course.
Just starting the conversation if we have to.
Sarah, in your practice, how do you talk to your clients about having conversations about money in families and helping build out that financial literacy in younger generation and in women specifically?
So I'm going to answer that, but I also want to make a comment about the 49%, because I actually see that as a good number.
Okay.
In the sense that I think had you asked the question 5 years ago, that number would have been a heck of a lot less. It might have even been 20s.
Oh, wow.
And I think that it reflects a demographic trend that would say that women are becoming the primary holders of wealth in Canada. We are becoming the dominant force. We are, through greater levels of education and career and job engagement, we're creating wealth. We're also stand to inherit wealth. We stand to inherit wealth twice, often from our partner or our spouse and from our parents. So financial literacy, I think, is exceptionally important, and it is exceptionally important that we as mothers and daughters, that we do teach our children coming up how to be financially literate. I think it happens and it starts in the home. I think it starts with involving children about the use of credit cards, about the use of savings and compounded interest, about investing. I think it's never too early to learn about the fundamentals of investing. What is the difference between a cash and a fixed income instrument, and what is the difference in equities? What is the whole concept behind risk and reward? Another misconception, I think, is that women are risk adverse. I actually don't think women are risk adverse. I think we just don't necessarily understand what risk is.
I think it's like risk aware.
Risk aware.
Risk aware. But can I just throw one other thing in? When we talk about wealth, with the women that I talk to, people will define wealth very differently. Some will define wealth by virtue of getting a great education, climbing the corporate ladder, starting their own business. Others define it by giving to their family and giving to their friends and community. Some will say it's about having a healthy body and a healthy mind. If I have that, I'm wealthy. And there will be others that will say it's about my checkbook, my balance, my net worth. And they're not, and they're all right.
Yes.
And so I think we have to sort of stand back and not just say, you know, financial literacy goes well beyond just the numbers.
Agreed. Okay, next question. So Home Equity Bank is the bank that helps exclusively Canadians 55 and older. So our average client is 72 years old. What's some good financial advice for people in that demographic that you would give?
Well, I will start with know your numbers. Know exactly where you stand, because when you know your numbers, you make informed decisions, and therefore you feel comfortable saying, I am going to delay, maybe, well, they can only delay taking CPP until 70.
Let's say they start at 55, right?
Okay, but at 55, if you start early enough and you understand your numbers, then you look at your options. And you have to say to yourself, how much am I going to really need in retirement? Because it's not a number that everybody throws out there. That's very nice. What is your lifestyle going to be like? Because your lifestyle will drive how much money you need in retirement. And then you look at how you're going to fund it. And I can tell you, based on the women that I've spoken to, maybe 2 years into retirement, they don't miss the money. They've got that figured out. They're starting to understand the options they have. What do they miss? They miss the structure, the orientation, and the socialization. And those are three components that also have to be included.
Linda, what about you? Advice to 55?
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that. Take stock of everything. Also take stock of your goals. I mean, and you're right, Patty, that I don't think people think necessarily what they want in their lives longer term, right? We get very fixated on one number, and people get very scared by the number because it seems very high to maintain a lifestyle that you've had, and I think that intimidates people and they stop even thinking about it because it's too scary. Yes. But I think take a breath, think about what you want longer term with your life, never mind the numbers, and then go from there and figure out what your assets are.
Do people generally, you know, in your experience and in your research, do people generally avoid having money thoughts or money conversations? Is this something that's so overwhelming for a lot of people that it continuously gets deferred?
I believe so, honestly, and I'm not sure if women are worse than men. I think it's both. Their solution is, I'm just going to keep working, or I'm going to put off this thought, right? Which is why so many people do get scared when something happens, some life event happens. They aren't really ready for it. And, you know, professionally, a lot of what I do is help companies with scenario planning. And I think individuals don't do enough scenario planning for themselves.
That's true. That is true.
I'm doing a webinar in the not too distant future, and it's called Don't Ghost Your Loved Ones. Is that not a great title? Because, like, ghosting, I love it. Like, you think about it in the texts of the guy that never called me. I'm still thinking about that guy, because I do remember him. Definitely ghost me. But
that's great.
It is. You know, it's having the conversation and being open and frank. And I'm standing here talking to you about it. I haven't done it. I haven't done it. And, you know, it's one of those things. We've been talking for the last 6 months that we want to update our will. And I go, yeah, we'll do it in the fall. We're into November. We'll do it in January.
You have 5 weeks.
I know. So, you know, but I want people to know that it's real. It's real for all of us. Like we can talk a good game. The best time to put a power of attorney in place, whether it's health or financial, is 5 to 10 years before you need it. Because then it can be revisited. It's peace of mind. People say my family will never fight. Guess what? They will. You have to have it, so don't ghost your family. I'm going to practice what I preach, and so the next time we have this conversation, I will be able to check the box.
Okay, we're gonna
I know you will. I know.
Sarah, your last piece of advice for Canadians 55 plus.
Oh, okay, because the conversation's moved in a slightly different direction. What I was going to say...
Okay, yes.
Okay, what I was going to say, and then I'll,
Yes.
is that I love the concept of gifting with warm hands. And it really speaks to having those family conversations. And it's something my mom did is every time I would go home to see her, I'd come back with stuff. And she was letting me have her wedding china. She was the piano. There were things that I got that my brother didn't get. But there was explanations and understandings about the significance of the gift. And we think that we watch the movies and everyone comes into a room and they're all clad in black and they're about to read the will. There's no movie set in the end. And really, it shouldn't be a surprise. Why would we leave things for our children and our loved ones to figure out, why the heck did I get the soup spoon? Have those conversations while you're alive and together, and you can ask and answer those questions. Don't leave it to your loved ones to figure out, why the heck did she do that?
I like the answer to the question that I didn't ask a lot better than me asking you the other question, because it ties really nicely to what Patty was talking about, the POAs and the will, because it's a process. You're thinking about it, and there's still something you can do about it.
And I also like the idea that you're sort of gifting with a warm hand. If the money you're going to leave your children down the road, presuming we're living longer, they're living longer, I'm not so sure the inheritance that they would get down the road would be all that beneficial, but it is today. It is today. And so, I think you can be strategic about it, but also tactical. And the tactical comes to the timing.
Yeah, and
when
it can
you do it.
We see it all the time at Home Equity Bank. It can be a lot more meaningful earlier in life. So helping adult children or grandkids buy their first home and get into the real estate market. I met with someone a couple weeks ago, and both him and his wife are in their 80s, and they talked about how 2 of their 3 kids need a relaunch. They're 50-year-old kids, and 2 of them need a relaunch. And he said, we're not going to take the money with us. They really need it right now. It can be a game changer for them. So it's a different way of thinking about it. I had more questions, but checking the time, and I would love to take some questions from the audience, if possible. So we're going to get ready for that. There you go, Rebecca.
Hi. So, Sarah, this question is for you.
Okay.
Thinking about women in their 50s and 60s, what does a realistic and empowering retirement plan look like? And how does somebody know they're on track?
Wow, that's a great question. I would say a financial plan is really individual to you. There's no financial plan that covers all. There's no financial planning for dummies. You can't pull it off the internet and say, I've got a financial plan. The other thing I would say about a financial plan is the moment you do it, it is out of date. Because things change, markets change. But what doesn't change generally are your goals and your aspirations and what you want the money to do for you. Women tend to define wealth, and I'm just thinking about the conversation that Patty talked about, different definitions of wealth. Women tend to talk about wealth in terms of what the money can do for them. So it's less about the actual dollar and the commas and the zeros, and it's more about, can I fund my children's RSP or my grandchildren's RESP? Can I go to Florida in summer, or not in the summer, in the winter? Can I go to Florida? Can I keep going to Florida and enjoy Florida in January and February? Can I go crazy at Christmas? We tend to think about money in terms of what the money can do for us. And so there really is no proper ideal financial plan as long as it's yours and it speaks to your goals and aspirations. How you know if you're on track or not is you are holding yourself accountable to the plan. That's really important. And sometimes people use advisors to hold themselves accountable to the plan. You've got to revisit that plan on a regular basis, particularly if something major changes, a loss of job, a loss of a spouse, a grandchild, a new grandchild, moving. If there's something significant, it's time to revisit that financial plan. But there is no one size fits all.
Thank you. Do we have other questions?
Thank you, Home Equity Bank, for inviting us here today and putting on this panel. I think it's really important to keep this conversation top of mind, especially now where it is that a lot of the content that we're being pushed on social media talks about traditional wives and the fact that you need to have a man to take care of you. So it's good that we're having this conversation as to how it is that we're able to have these conversations. So one thing I wanted to ask of all of you was, given the taboo and the shame that's surrounding us having these conversations, how would you suggest or recommend that women talk about money without feeling embarrassment to either professionals, to their family, or even to their friends?
Wow, great question. Patty?
Yeah, thank you. Great question. I love the fact that you want to have the conversation. And so what I really think it comes down to is when you start to feel comfortable that you know what your goals are, what you would like to see happen, then you start to ask the right questions. How can I get there? What are the things I need to do? Who are the people I need to talk to? How can I check in to make sure I'm on track? And not everybody's going to be receptive. I get that. But I'll go back to, it's your money, it's your career, it's your independence. And I see a lot of the stuff on social media as well. And I respond to a lot of it. In fact, I shouldn't, but I do. And I think to myself, you know, I don't want to see us retreating. I want to see that feeling of empowerment moving forward, that you can achieve all that you want to achieve. So it gets back to, it has to be your goal. So if you came to me and said, Patty, I have X amount of dollars, and I'd go, great, you've got a job, let's start saving for retirement. But if you were to look at me and say, that doesn't excite me, to your point, you're not going to be accountable to that. And you're going to say, but what I really want to do is come up with a down payment for a first home. And then I'd say, okay, that's your goal, that's your dream. Let's re-engineer and start to build the plan. It starts with the goal. It starts with that dream.
Linda, anything to add to?
Well, I don't have an algorithm that shows me a lot of trad wives, Patty. I think I shut it down, so I'm happy about that.
Yeah, well, somehow they came up on mine.
And it's a little depressing to think that people are thinking like that. I mean, I know we see the extreme of this on social media, but if we're creating any kind of economy or society where women think it's somehow less feminine to know about money, or it's not part of your role as a wife or a mother or a woman to know about money, then we're kind of failing. Because even if you don't have a job outside the home, you owe it to your family to know these things. You have to be a partner in this for your children or anything else. So that's obviously something to work on if we're going to rebuild social media, if you're going to put that out there.
I'll put it out there.
Yeah.
I agree, because, you know, the trends, the social media trends around, you know, girl math can be so demeaning, and they can be funny and quirky in one way, but they can take us back so many years and so many decades. And I always, you know, again, as funny as they can be, they really take away from women and empowering women. I'm not a big fan of those ones. Any other questions in the audience? Is there another one? No? All right, I think we're good. So we're very quickly coming to the end of the show. So, you know, a couple of takeaways as I think about the wrap up and listening to what everybody said. I think the first one for everybody is just take stock of where you're at, what you have, assets, you know, spoons, anything.
I have a few.
Anything that may be important. You know, do you have a power of attorney? Do you have a will? Have you made your wishes known? I think that's really important as number one. Number two, from what I heard from all of you is, you know, you don't need to know everything. There are people to talk to, they're experts, you can find them, and they can help on the journey, and they can help keep you on track, and they can educate you, and they can be a really, really great partner. Make sure you find, number 3, make sure you find the right advisor or a right expert to help. Not everybody's perfect for you. They may be, just like you said, Sarah, right? They may be great, but they may not be great for you. So keep looking, keep asking. When you find the right one, you will know. And Patty, to what you were saying, frequency of communication and the type of engagement and advice is really, really important. And then don't feel pressure to make quick decisions, and take your time, especially if there's a big life change, a spouse passes away or there's illness. There are very few things that have to be done overnight. And this even ties into the world of scams and fraud, where people get pushed to make decisions really, really quickly. You're planning for the rest of your life. One decision overnight is not really going to make a difference. I think those are the 4 ones that I would leave us with. So we're coming to the end of our time. It flew by really quickly. I kept checking the clock, and the minutes just kept disappearing. Thank you all for joining us today. Thank you to the studio audience, everyone at home. I'm very excited to offer everyone a copy of our book, Home Run, The Reverse Mortgage Advantage. If you would like a copy, give us a call at 1-855-460-7260. And once again, thank you very much for joining. Thank you to our panel. Thank you to the audience, and thanks to everyone watching online. Hope you enjoyed it, and you're walking away with some practical tips. Thank you.
Growing up, I thought retirement meant slowing down.
And now?
Now it looks like this. Weekday hikes, new projects. I know people who are even busier in retirement.
Which is great, except everything costs more now.
That's why I tell people about CHIP. See, it's a way for Canadians age 55 and better to access the savings in their home. It's helped a lot of folks fund the retirement that they want to live.
If you're 55 or older, you can access the savings in your home in tax-free cash without having to sell, with no monthly mortgage payments required. Call 1-877-562-2447 or visit chip.ca for your free no-obligation information guide.
I love how passionate you are about what CHIP can do. I know you, Kurt. You're saying this because you really believe it.
That means a lot, especially coming from my big sister.
For your free guide, call 1-877-562-2447 or visit chip.ca. Home Equity Bank.